When he left for war, she promised she'd wait. But years passed. The letters stopped. The world moved on. She opened a bakery, got engaged, and forgot the name stitched on the back of his jacket. So when a homeless man swept the sidewalk in front of her store and smiled at her ring, she didn't see the man who once memorized her heartbeat through sandbags and gunfire. His name was Luke Mathers. He used to be someone. A boy who threw a perfect spiral down Elm Street, who danced barefoot at county fairs, who enlisted at 19 because his father and grandfather had both done the same. Before the war, he was just a dreamer with calloused hands and a heart too soft for the world he was about to enter. But that boy disappeared somewhere outside Fallujah. The Luke who returned was quieter. Paler. Less whole. Except, he didn't return right away. For a long time, he was presumed missing. One night mission gone sideways. Firefight. Smoke. Chaos. No body. No closure. Back home, time didn't wait. The world doesn't hold its breath for the missing. And so, after the first few months, the town stopped asking. After a year, the yellow ribbons came down. Only Claire kept writing. Her letters were long, filled with little things, the smell of her hair after baking, the way the sunrise hit their spot by the river. She mailed one every week for 13 months. And then, finally, stopped. What she didn't know was that Luke had survived. But not all of him. A head injury. Shrapnel lodged too close to something vital. Weeks in a field hospital. Then the silence. Records lost. A misfiled name. A life paused. By the time he stepped off a bus in his own town, no one recognized him, not even the mirror. And certainly not Claire. Luke hadn't planned on staying. He thought he'd visit his mother's grave, maybe see the bakery Claire once said she'd open. Then move on. Start again. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere no one would look at him with that awful blend of pity and confusion. But when he saw her, she was standing behind the counter, laughing. Her hair pulled into the same messy bun she used to do after long study nights. The flower on her cheek. The same way she used to wipe it with her wrist and miss. He froze on the other side of the street, unable to breathe. The bell above the bakery door jingled. A man stepped out. Handsome. Confident. A hand gently resting on Claire's lower back. Luke recognized the gesture, not the man. He turned away before she could see him. Or maybe he hoped she wouldn't. That night, he found a broom by the dumpster and swept the sidewalk. Just to feel close. Just to listen to her hum through the glass. The next morning, he came back. Then again. And again. He told himself he wasn't here to make her remember. He wasn't here to disrupt her life. He just wanted to protect her from afar, as he always had. Even if she had no idea who the man outside her window was. Just someone sweeping dust. Just someone forgotten. Winter came early that year. The wind cut sharp around the corners of town, and the cold settled deep into Luke's joints. Nights were long. The cot in the shelter barely held his weight. Some mornings, he'd wake up coughing blood, wondering if this was the last sunrise he'd ever see. But he always made it back to the bakery. Same corner. Same broom. Same silence. People began to notice the drifter. Some dropped change in his paper cup. Others whispered. One woman crossed the street when he smiled too gently at her child. Claire didn't notice at first. She was busy. Holiday orders, a wedding to plan, tastings, fittings, life. Until one afternoon, she stepped outside, sighing about deliveries, and saw him standing there. "You don't have to do that," she said softly. Luke froze. Her voice. That voice. "It's fine," he mumbled, not meeting her eyes. She tilted her head. "You've been here every day for weeks. You want some bread or something?" He shook his head. "Just helping." She paused, then smiled, polite, distant. Suit yourself. But next time, wear gloves. Your hands are raw. She walked back inside. Luke's knees nearly gave out. She had spoken to him. She had noticed. But she hadn't seen. And that was the cruelest part. The ring on her finger shimmered in the winter sun. Every time she stepped outside, Luke's gaze found it like a reflex. She was happy. At least, it seemed that way. She laughed easily. Chatted with the mailman. Gave free cookies to kids. But Luke saw what others missed, the way her eyes lingered on old couples walking hand in hand. The pause in her breath when she smelled cinnamon, his favorite. He wondered if she remembered the night he asked her to wait. The tears. The promise. The soft, desperate kiss beneath the train station lights. Did she think he broke it? That he chose not to come back? He carried her last letter in his coat pocket, folded so many times it felt like cloth. He still read it every night before he slept. If you're alive, come home. I'll be here. He had come home. One morning, Claire stepped out with her fiancé, arm in arm. They laughed. She leaned into him, head on his shoulder. Luke turned away, gripping the broom too tightly. A tear slipped down his cheek. Not from jealousy, but from the quiet grief of realizing the world had moved on while he was busy surviving. That evening, Claire stayed late to close. The street was quiet. Luke lingered nearby, sweeping snow from the curb. She stepped up with a trash bag, saw him, and hesitated. You're still here? She asked. He nodded. Just finishing up. She studied him for a second, then tilted her head. You look familiar. Did you go to Lincoln High? Luke's breath caught. Yeah. Long time ago. She squinted. You knew. Luke Mathers? The name cracked the air like thunder. He tried to speak. His lips moved. But the words got lost in his throat. She smiled wistfully. He was someone I loved. But he died. He finally whispered, no. He didn't. Claire blinked. What? He looked up. Slowly. Carefully. Letting her see what war and time had done to him. I'm Luke. The trash bag hit the ground. The silence between them was thick. Claire didn't speak. Her eyes darted across his face, searching for the boy she once knew. She didn't find him. No, Luke died. They told me he was gone. Mia. Killed in action. He nodded slowly. They thought I was. It took years to come back. I wasn't the same, they didn't even send the right records. And by the time I got here. She took a shaky step back. You look different. I am different. She hugged herself. Why didn't you come to me? He smiled softly. Brokenly. I did. Every day. Her breath caught. The tears came fast. But not the kind he hoped for. Not joy. Not relief. Just confusion. Guilt. Sadness. I have a life now, she whispered. I'm getting married in April. Luke nodded. He wasn't angry. He never had been. I know. And then, as if on instinct, he reached into his coat and pulled out the crumpled letter. Her letter. She stared at it, trembling. Then turned and walked inside. The door shut. The broom slipped from his hand. That night, Luke didn't go back to the shelter. He sat beneath the bakery awning, knees drawn to his chest, arms wrapped tight around them like he could hold himself together if he just stayed still enough. The snow fell in slow spirals, catching on his shoulders, dusting his unshaved jaw. He didn't brush it off. He had survived ambushes, blood loss, starvation, but nothing ever felt as heavy as that closed door. She didn't recognize him. Not really. She saw a ghost. And how could he blame her? The man she loved was 18 with sunlit eyes and dreams of coming home. The man crouched on this sidewalk had scars across his ribs, a limp in his left leg, and nightmares that didn't care whether it was day or night. He pulled her letter from his coat again. Read it one more time, mouthing the words like a prayer. If you're alive, come home. I'll be here. He whispered, I did. A couple passed on the street. The woman gave him a wide berth. The man glanced once and looked away. Luke didn't lift his head. Somewhere behind him, the bakery lights shut off. He didn't turn. He didn't expect her to come back. She didn't. And maybe she shouldn't have. Some wars aren't fought on foreign soil, and some returns aren't meant to end with open arms. Luke didn't sleep that night. But he didn't leave either. Morning came slow, gray and aching. Claire unlocked the bakery, eyes swollen from crying, hands trembling. She glanced toward the alley. Empty. Only a broken broom remained, leaning against the wall like a relic. Inside, she kneaded dough on autopilot. The mixer whirred, timers beeped. None of it made a dent in the silence inside her chest. She kept seeing his face, or what was left of it. The eyes were the same. That was what haunted her. The way he looked at her like she was still his whole world. But she didn't know that man. Not anymore. Claire, a voice called from the front. It was Ethan, her fiancé. Clean-shaven, pressed coat, predictable warmth. He kissed her cheek and handed her a latte. Rough night? She nodded. He didn't ask more. At noon, she stepped outside to clear her head. And froze. Across the street, just behind the bench, a familiar shape slouched. Head down. Same coat. Same duffel bag. A small folded flag sticking out of the side. She crossed the street before she realized she was doing it. Luke, she whispered. He looked up. Eyes red-rimmed. He started to stand. Don't, she said quickly. I need to say this. He stilled. You coming back, it opened something I thought I buried. I loved you. Maybe a part of me always will. But you're not him. And I'm not her. He swallowed hard, the wind catching the edge of the flag in his bag. I know, he said softly. I just wanted to see you smile again. That's all. She turned without another word. And Luke sat back down, as if the weight of everything had finally pinned him there. That afternoon, the town square was bustling. Kids in scarves chased pigeons, and couples browsed storefronts lit with golden holiday lights. No one noticed the man on the bench by the fountain. No one except a little girl. She tugged her father's coat, pointing. Daddy, that man has a flag. The man glanced over. A second later, his face changed. He walked over slowly. Hey, he said gently. Luke didn't respond. Sir, the man tried again. You okay? Luke blinked. His lips parted like he might answer, but his gaze didn't focus. The man stepped closer. Kneeling. There, beside Luke on the bench, sat the folded flag. On his lap, Claire's letter. In his hand, her photo. The one she gave him before he shipped out, corners worn nearly through. The man touched his shoulder. Cold. Still. He called for help, but it was too late. The ambulance came in silence. They placed a sheet over Luke's body with solemn hands. He died with her name in his hand and her smile in his memory, the only home he ever longed for. Claire heard the sirens but didn't think twice. It wasn't until the police came to her bakery that she knew. Ma'am, do you recognize this man? They asked, showing her a worn military ID. Luke Mathers. The room tilted. Her knees buckled. Later, at the morgue, she saw him one last time. Peaceful. Still. She placed the photo back in his coat pocket. I remembered too late, she whispered. I'm sorry. She didn't attend the funeral. Not because she didn't care, but because she couldn't. They held a small service at the veterans' plot. 2 old Marines showed up uninvited. One saluted. The other cried. No headlines. No press. Just one man, who once took a bullet for someone who no longer remembered his name. A month passed. Claire went back to work. But things changed. She started leaving extra loaves on the back step. Told staff never to throw out day-old bread just in case someone was hungry. She kept a photo behind the counter. A boy in uniform. Barefoot in a creek. Smiling like he believed the world would wait for him. Sometimes she stared at it between customers, lips trembling. Sometimes she hummed the song she used to sing before he deployed. The one he never forgot. And outside, the bench where he used to sit stayed empty. Except for the wind. They say the dead can't feel regret. But the living do in the quiet hours, between breaths. Luke never asked for thanks. He never asked to be remembered. He just came home. And waited. If you believe some uniforms never really come off. If you believe love shouldn't fade just because time did. Type "I remember" in the comments. And share this story. For the ones who came home too late to be seen.